Checking an ID is more than you think it is. The ABC and local enforcement conduct what is called the Minor Decoy Program. The program allows law enforcement agencies to use persons under 20 years of age as decoys to purchase alcoholic beverages from licensed premises. As of October 1st, 2004, the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, ABC, has been using its own decoy state regulations that took effect January 2, 1996, require that the decoy be less than 20 years of age, display the appearance of a person under 21 years of age, shall either carry his or her own identification showing the decoy's correct date of birth, or shall carry no identification. A decoy who carries identification shall present it upon request to any seller of alcoholic beverages, and shall answer truthfully any questions about his or her age. Following the completed sale, but not later than the citation if any is issued, the peace officer directing the decoy shall make a reasonable attempt to enter the licensed premises and have the minor decoy who purchased alcoholic beverages make a face-to-face identification of the alleged seller of the alcoholic beverage. That is Rule 141. After the violation and face-to-face identification is completed, the decoy and suspect should have their photograph taken together. A decoy should also be prepared to write a report and willing to testify in court. In addition, the department strongly encourages law enforcement agencies to notify all licensees by letter of the results of a pending decoy program. The objectives of this notification is to minimize the sale of alcoholic beverage to minors. Local agencies are also urged to consider notifying the local media of the decoy program. This gives licensees a second notification and may elicit editorial and community support for the agency. At this point in time in our classroom education, I will choose one student to give their ID to another student, and for that student to check their ID. After they check the ID, they will usually say, "Yes, I would serve this individual." My next question is, what is the expiration date on that ID? 95% of the time, nobody can tell me the expiration date of the ID. Or I like to find a student who will be 21 later this year, but is under the age of 21 and won't be 21 until later in the year. You've got to check an ID closer. This is a 10-point checking ID card. There are 10 things I'm going to ask you to look at on ID. Now you might be thinking right now, 10 things on an ID? I don't have time to look at 10 things on an ID. You don't have time not to. If you serve a minor in this day and age, the ramifications, both civil and legal, can be huge. Number 1, you want to look at the expiration date. If an ID is expired, it is not valid. Number 2, is the signature and date of birth in erased text. Number 3, their photograph. Number 4, year of birth. You want to hold the ID in your hand. When you look at the photo, you look straight across. Remember, it's much easier to look at somebody straight across this way than it is up and down, because the way somebody's eyes are will never, ever, ever change. Number 5, the day of birth. Number 6, the month of birth. Number 7, does the age match up? If the individual who you are questioning hands you an ID saying they're much older than they appear, you might ask for another piece of identification. Number 8, look at their height. Number 9, their weight. Number 10, the state seal. Look for blurred images, something drawn on there. Is it the correct state seal? A partial state seal? I remember one time looking at a young man's ID and I realized the state seal was a hologram that said an official seal of authenticity.